Well, joining me from New York City to discuss both the upcoming Summer and Winter Olympics is Mike Bako. He's the sports editor for dailynational.com. Good to speak to you again, Mike.
Good to be with you as always.
So, just 1 month now to the Tokyo Olympics. Mike, can you think of another Summer Games so uncertain and perhaps even unpopular among the public this close to the time?
Yes, certainly it is unpopular. Over 80% of Japanese residents are saying that they don't want the Olympic Games. The major newspapers putting out editorials saying as much, that the Games should not go on. But when you look at the economics of the situation and you see how much money is on the line and how much planning has gone into this and how many entities are involved, from the IOC to sponsors to here in the States with NBC broadcasting the Games and almost selling out their entire Olympic inventory of advertising. This is a machine that is going to keep on going. And we really have not seen something like this in terms of the public backlash or the unpreparedness of the Games. It's really unprecedented. We're in unprecedented times because of the cancellation, postponement last year because of the pandemic. And certainly Tokyo is not out of that pandemic as many other nations and as the U.S. seemingly seem to be heading towards.
Too much at stake. Well, Beijing, of course, is hosting the Winter Games next February. What lessons would you say, Mike, can it learn from the Tokyo experience about hosting such an international spectacle in the COVID era?
Certainly, they're hoping that by the winter of 2022 that they won't be dealing with the COVID aspect of things. But if it is going on, they'll have a good test case in terms of understanding what happens when you have that many athletes in an Olympic village. How many athletes competing against each other in sports very close together? What happens to the rates of infection if they do spike, if they do go up? IOC is predicting somewhere in the range of 80% of the athletes coming there vaccinated. That's their prediction. Whether it turns out to be true or not, I feel like that is a high estimate of the number of vaccinated athletes that are going to be coming there, even though it is a priority for many Olympic Committee organizers. But what Beijing really needs to take advantage of is seeing the missteps that the Tokyo Games may encounter. And again, that comes down to vaccination rates. Turns out to be how many people are doing testing there on a daily basis. There's going to be upwards of 1,500 to 3,000 nurses and doctors that are going to be imported to do all these daily tests to make sure that the athletes are safe. So they're really going to be able to see it from a distance and then very quickly need to put it into action just a few months later, gearing up for their own Games.
All moving pieces. I have to bring up international spectators, and they're not going to be allowed for the Tokyo Games. Do you think in Beijing they will be? Because it just feels really different, right, to have an Olympics game without the world watching, so to speak.
The world will be watching only remotely on TV. Now, do you lose some of that pageantry and some of that Olympic fervor when you don't have fans cheering? Whether it be the nations cheering for their own teams or these inspirational stories that always pop up during any Olympic Games where an athlete becomes an underdog and is embraced by the crowd. Some of that energy, just looking at sports over the last year, whether it was played in empty soccer stadiums around the world or whether it was empty football stadiums, you saw an appreciable difference in terms of how the athletes reacted when there were fans there and when they were not. So certainly that is going to be something without the international spectators, but something interesting to keep in mind with the Summer Games, with the apathy of the Japanese people towards these Games. Will there even be local people that want to go to these events? Certainly does not seem like, just with the statistics coming out with how many people are against it. If you're against it, why would you end up going to watch these events? So I think it's going to be a very interesting experience for everyone involved, and something that even the viewers at home will be able to pick up on very quickly and very easily.
We shall have to watch and wait and cheer from the sidelines. Mike Bako, thank you very much.
Thank you.